Welcome to Spotlight on Geraldine Javier at Art Informal Makati. Thank you for joining us, Geraldine.
Thanks, Steph.
It is an honor to have Geraldine at the whole gallery. And we are going to begin with this first room where Geraldine's works are inspired by Gertrude Jekyll. Geraldine, sino si Gertrude Jekyll?
Gertrude Jekyll was a garden designer. She's very famous for it, but she's also a painter. She does sculptures too, or did sculptures, but she's more known for her garden designs.
Let's just focus on this painting, which is the very first one Geraldine did for the exhibition. Can you tell us a little bit about this painting?
Okay. That's the first work for this exhibition. And the background canvas, actually it was used for another purpose. It's a protective layer for the painted fabrics from another exhibition. That's the start, and then I add another layer of very thin coat of paint, and then started painting a plant until it expanded, it grew. There are so many layers now, but it's a very sort of unusual composition for a garden because you wouldn't see a garden on top and a garden below separated. But I think I did that composition because I have some paintings wherein the flowers and the plants seem to be going up.
If you read the essays that come with the exhibition, and I highly recommend everybody does, it speaks about Geraldine's painting process is a lot like palimpsests and mulching. Geraldine, can you tell us a bit about mulching?
Mulching in gardening or farming, it's about adding organic matter into the soil. Just add more branches, leaves, whatever organic materials you have. It's to protect the soil. It keeps the soil moist. So you don't have to water every day because it's already moist. It's protected. It also enriches the soil. So same with the painting technique I employed. It's just adding layers to it, and maybe some are covered, some are very detailed, but eventually covered by another layer of painting. But still, it. The more you add, the more rich it looks.
That's very important because gardening is a many layered process. It's not just what you see in front of you, but what came in preparation.
Yeah, true.
These two paintings have figures and which are important to Geraldine.
That all three paintings have figures because it's a garden. It's when you talk about a garden, there's someone who's taking care of it. So someone's cultivating it, fertilizing it, taking the weeds. So people are needed to have a garden. Otherwise, it's just a forest or a jungle. So it's like it's a symbiotic relationship.
I read that there are over 100 varieties of plants painted in these three paintings. Why did you choose these specific flowers and plants?
These are not just local flowers. I based them on plant illustrations. So I carefully choose them for the composition, the color. Gertrude is a garden designer. When I did this, it's like that's my frame of mind. How am I going to compose this? So I'm going to compose this the way Gertrude designed her garden, and the garden of other people, where it's very well planned. The plants are well chosen for the forms, for the colors. So I started with one plant, and then when I'm done with that, like one plant but painted in several not layers, repetitive painting of that plant.
Okay.
I would stop for maybe a day or two, think about the next plant that I will paint, because it has to go together with the painted plant or flower already. So it's like really creating a garden, composing it.
And then if you look closely, the flowers are very detailed, and the silhouettes covered some of the details of the flowers.
Oh yeah, because I want that feeling that you're inside and outside the garden, as if you can enter the painting. Actually, this piece, it's more of a, I don't I don't really see it as like a painting as in one-dimensional thing. It's like, that's why I have to always stop after a few days of painting and reflect. I mean, I want to really create a mood. And it's like, in my mind, it's like being able to enter it.
Okay, you can sense the layers of this painting, and it looks extremely laborious. It must have taken months.
3.5 months of solid work
Oh.
to do this, but it has to be really obsessive. Because that's how she planned her garden. It's really obsessive.
Is inspired by the gardener Derek Jarman. Derek, sino si Derek Jarman?
Derek Jarman is actually known for his films. He's also a painter, but I decided to focus on his garden. Actually, I got to know about the garden when Tony bought the book on Derek Jarman's garden. When I saw it, I really fell in love with the kind of plants he has there and the way he set up his garden. It's like very, very strange, dangerous, with all those spikes, the rotted steels that we found from the beach, and all those stones. So it's very, very different from what a garden would be for any one of us.
I know he also has sculptures in his garden.
And can you tell us a little bit about your own sculptures here?
So the sculptures from his garden, they were like found objects washed out from the beach when he do his walk. So he found skull stones, rotted wood. So he would assemble them. So it's like this bark have been with me for 8 years now. And we had a typhoon, very strong typhoon, and felled over 50 trees. And we have also very, very high trees that we have to prune severely so that they will not fall down in the next typhoon. So, and there's so many wood that we charred most of them. And these are the barks. They protected they did a setup of covering those wood with a metal corrugated, the ones that we use for roofing. And these are the support. That's why they're not completely charred. This is a mahogany barks. So in keeping with Jarman, it's like just using what I have in my garden to create installations.
And what about the detail on these bones?
The bones, Batangas is known for like raising house, right? So we have lots easy to purchase these bones, and these are the plants that Derek planted in his garden, and these are engravings and then painted later. That's an artichoke.
Oh, it was a vegetable garden and
It's a combination of vegetable, flowering, I think he doesn't believe in a garden that is like just covered in grass. It has to be useful.
Okay. And what about this installation in front of us?
This is called In Memory of. The wood blocks, again, are just the dividers between the pallet boards. So I decided to use them up for this. It's not cut evenly, I think, because I think German would prefer it very raw as it is. So just painted. And the dried flowers are mostly from our garden and then dipped in and caustic. So it's like I'm very conscious of just using organic materials, especially for Derek's installation pieces. In memory of, I think it's maybe in memory of Derek or in memory of the people that died during the pandemic.
Okay. They seem to be like almost like keeps offerings or to
Yeah.
preserve.
Yeah, remembrances.
Now, I know that you were reading an audiobook. I mean, listening to an audiobook while painting. And this work is based on that. Can you tell us why you chose this book, why you like this book?
Braiding Sweetgrass. I forgot the complete title of the book, but I came across a review of that because I'm a Audible fan and I would always, okay, what will be the next read? So when I read the review, it sounds like very interesting. It will help me in my work with my garden and with the farm. And it was very timely also because I've been thinking about this pandemic, what brought this pandemic. She explained how our relationship did not evolve with nature because for us, nature is our tool. Nature, we think of nature as how it will serve us. So I began to think also of how we're going to work on our relationship, my relationship with the community, with the property I have. So I chose that because I think this is what we really need. Reciprocity for her is very important. I mean, respect for nature is very important. Giving back, I mean, whatever we take, that's not really ours to take. So we should always thank nature, although I think most people would find it weird. Maybe just whisper it. There's so many knowledge she imparted, how we can take care of them. And I recommend reading the book, or actually it's best to listen to it because of the quality of her voice. It's very soothing. Actually, when I became very anxious again because of another lockdown or another variant, I would listen to it again because I just want the calming voice of Robin Kimmerer.
I know that Derek Jarman also carved words. Is that why you did this?
Yeah. Because of the house is very important for Derek. And then his project is, he has a favorite poem, but it's about his lover, which I think is, I find it hard to connect that poem to the garden or the installation I'm doing. So that's why I chose something from Robin Wall Kimmerer's book that is more apt for this exhibition.
Now, moving to this video, which looks like vermicompost. Can you tell us about your composting and this image, this
Yeah.
video?
because we've been doing organic farming, so every scrap that we had kitchen scrap, we put that in a container. So in my studio, I have my own container where I put the scraps from the kitchen, like vegetable peelings and all that, and then I would put sawdust or cut up cartons. And then one day when I look at it, it's like, oh, worms. And then I decided to take videos. But I can only take 5-second videos because they're very, very shy. they hide when they're exposed to light.
I like how you added this video because it shows not everything in the garden is about the traditional notion of beauty. There are decomposing things, but it's still part of what makes the garden survive. So that is a fascinating contrast.
I think it's also the essence of Derek Jarman's garden, because when he moved to that place, he's dying. He has AIDS. So that idea of developing a garden and you're dying, it takes years to develop a garden. So why would you do that when you don't have years to do that? So that for me is like not just interesting. It hits you differently. I mean, it's very emotional for him. The gardening, it's not just about the pleasure. It's about dealing with pain.
It's about the process.
Yeah.
When you're gardening.
Yeah, and it's when he did his garden, I think he's like talking about his life and his eventually death. I think that's why his garden is like a bit sinister, dangerous.